If you want to win the Stanley Cup in the Eastern Conference, you have one goal: figure out a way to beat the Florida Panthers.
It's the great Steve Peters inside the coach's room on YouTube. He is the best hockey analyst in the world, longtime video coach of the Arizona Coyotes, and just longtime friend of What Chaos. Hello, Petey.
How you guys doing? I think I'll do the framing for Sean because I was a little off-centered, so I'll move to the middle so we can give Sean a little break. Yeah, don't have a problem waiting. You know, this is my favorite show, so I sit and listen to you guys and your banter about the first couple of games in the East and West, and I enjoy the heck out of it. So I'll sit in the green room all day long. This is fun.
Okay, it's not fun for the Carolina Hurricanes because they're down 2-0. Best thing they have going for them is that their sign queen is improving, albeit with old signs, but we all know that. What is going on with the Carolina Hurricanes? Why is this such a mismatch, seemingly?
You know, this is trouble, and I said it before the series started. The Florida Panthers are the Carolina Hurricanes, but they're better. They play a similar smothering style in all three zones to what the Carolina Hurricanes do, but the Carolina Hurricanes' biggest problem has been and continues to be their ability to score goals and their ability to have those players that can help break a game open offensively. And you're going to see it here, even with Svechnikov is playing as well as he did. He had one shot last night. Like it's not good enough. They don't have that offensive guy that can break through. Having said that, when you watch these two styles of play, and you're saying they're similar, and they are, they both pursue the puck incredibly aggressively. But watch the play away from the puck. They're so different. Carolina is in your face, and they're uptight to every single player away from the puck. They're ready to jump the play as it happens. Florida, they'll attack the puck, and then as soon as the puck moves, they go back. Especially in the defensive zone, they'll go back and protect the house. So when you do that, you're jamming up and you're defending in front of Bobrovsky. Look at the open ice in front of the Carolina Hurricanes net. And the goals that show that, you look at the race that Bennett had with Burns back to the net, loses. Orlov back to the net, loses. Because they're trying to be so overly aggressive that they get out of position defensively. So two teams that are similar, one just does it way better.
Yeah. I mean, what do you think about the goaltending so far? Because Freddie Anderson coming into this series was statistically the best goaltender in the playoffs, and he has looked pretty average for my money in this series. Do you feel like that magic's running out? Is it just the play in front of him, or like is this something that you can see turning around in this series?
I think, honestly, I think this is who Frederik Andersen is. I think this is more realistic to who he is as a goaltender. And I think what you saw through the first two series, especially you're looking at the New Jersey Devils, lack their most offensive player. The Washington Capitals, Alexei Protas, a guy that gets in the net hard, wasn't there. Alex Ovechkin isn't a threat in the playoffs like he is during the regular season. I don't think he's faced a team that gets to the blue paint anywhere close to what the Florida Panthers do. And when you're having Tkachuk and Bennett and Verhaeghe right in your face for the entire game, it makes the game more difficult to play. And you look at the goals; they're not bad goals. I mean, how many tips last night he had absolutely no chance on. Doesn't see him until they're behind him. I don't think he's played poorly. I think this is who he is. I don't think Anderson comes up with those 5-alarm bell saves consistently. He did it in the first two rounds once in a while. Now he's not getting the shot volume that he was getting. I mean, the shot volume is not that bad against the Florida Panthers, but when they do get their shots, they're right in your face. And these are difficult saves. I don't know if Anderson's going to be the difference in this series. I think Carolina's going to have to find a new way to play. And they've played this way since they started playing for Brendan Moore. And I don't think they can do anything to change the way they're playing against the Florida Panthers.
Well, here's a thought that came into my mind last night. And I agree with you. Like, I don't think that Anderson's playing bad. Would you, if you were Brendan Moore, consider a switch to Kochetkov in Game 3 just to provide a spark and a kick in the ass to the team in front of him?
Yeah, I would. And one of the things Kochetkov does do, too, is he's got a little more athleticism. I like the way Kochetkov plays. He's going to bring a different energy back between the pipes than you're seeing with Anderson. And I do think Anderson's playing the best playoff hockey of his entire career right now. And when you've given up the amount of goals he's given up over the last two games, players on the bench are looking for something. They're looking for, hey, coach, we need a way out of this, man. They're kicking our ass. Like, how can we get out of this? And if one thing you can do is change the goaltender, okay, we're going to play a little differently in front of Kochetkov. He's going to bring this a little bit differently than what we're seeing from Anderson. I think it does give the team a little emotional boost, and it allows them to approach the game a little bit differently. Like, oh, at least we're changing something. Maybe we have something different. It's a different game plan versus throwing the same thing at the wall going, gosh, I hope it sticks this time against Florida. So, yeah, I like that move, Pete. I don't know if they'll do it. with the numbers he's put up. But I do like that move after the amount of goals he's given up over 2.
Another big question that everyone was asking after that game, given that with a 1-8 seeding, this would have been a first-round matchup. It would have been the Panthers at the Hurricanes, just like it is in the Eastern Conference Final now. And people are seeing this lopsided series and asking, if this could have been gotten over with earlier in the postseason, is that an indication that we should go to 1-8? I've got thoughts on this, but as somebody who spent a ton of time in the league, I'm wondering yours.
I think it should be, and I think you can see it in both sides. I think the Dallas Stars matchup with the Colorado Avalanche happening right off the bat was one of those that you'd like to see later in the playoffs, because I think they were potentially the 2 best teams in the West at that time. I mean, Edmonton has improved as they've gone on the series, and I think as a hockey fan, you want to see the competition ramp up. You don't want to see this in the Eastern Conference Finals. I mean, really? Like, honestly, last night it's 4-0, and you're okay. Like, is there something else on? And that's bad for hockey. You want to see these matchups get better. And there's been so many good matchups in the Eastern Conference to this point. I do think it's time to change it. I really do. And I think people are tired of seeing, again, it's about the audience. Have we seen enough of LA Kings and the Edmonton Oilers in the first round? Let's see something different. And I hope that it gets brought up. I know it won't change, and it's nothing. The NHL isn't quick to make these kind of changes, but you're right. This really reflects that, gosh, maybe we do need to make some changes so we get that competition later in the series.
I would go to 1-8 just anyway. I think that's fine, and it changes things up from getting the same matchups all the time. But I think that there are 2 reasons as to why I push back on people seeing that game last night and saying this needs to change. One, Panthers, respectfully, once the Leafs were out of it, might have been doing this to anybody. This is the reigning Stanley Cup champion. They added Brad Marchand, and they added Seth Jones, and Matthew Tkachuk is getting healthy. Like, this all kind of makes sense that the Panthers are still rolling. The other side of it is you look at the matchups and what it would be, and yes, this would have been a first-round matchup, but then you look at the West, and no, you would not have gotten Stars Avalanche in the first round. The Avalanche would have played the Kings, which would be a pretty exciting matchup. Do you know who the Stars would have played?
They would have played the Edmonton Oilers.
It would have been Stars Oilers in the first round. So it's pick your poison. You can't always get the series that you want. And what a shame it would be if what we're seeing right now, especially based on game 1 in the Western Conference Final, that would be more of a shame than having the Avalanche and Stars play in the first round this year. So it would be an upgrade on one side, a downgrade on the other.
Yeah, and you got to play ready to get there, right? Like, if you want to hoist the Stanley Cup, it is the most difficult journey in sports to get through this daunting gauntlet of 2 months. You're going to have to play everybody at some point. And Carolina, during the regular season and even in the playoffs, you go, oh boy, this Carolina team, look at how they defend. Look at their shot volume. Look at what they're doing. This is going to be a great matchup against Florida. And it just isn't. They just don't match up well against this Florida Panther team. And I said it before, Brendan Moore plays a certain way. This is it. This is the way the Carolina Hurricanes play. They're not changing for game 3. There's no, hey, okay, now we're going to back off and we're going to defend in front. They're not. They're coming at you again, and it's going to fail again. And they may get swept, and Brendan Moore will say, we didn't get swept, but we did get swept. We didn't lose 4, but we did lose 4. And the series is going to be over. And Carolina's going to be left scratching their heads again, going, gosh, 1-82, we beat teams. Because guess what? Teams don't play like this game's 1-82. Teams don't respond with the pressure that the Florida Panthers are playing like right now against the Carolina Hurricanes on a Tuesday night in Columbus. You don't see the Blue Jackets push back against this aggressive style. In the playoffs, you do. And I think you're going to have to find a different recipe if you're the Carolina Hurricanes, if your goal is to get past the Eastern Conference Finals, which is an amazing goal, by the way, because there's only 4 teams left, 28 teams are sitting watching. Carolina's great to get this far. But if they really want to get to the next level, they're going to have to change something in the way they play.
Yeah, I get what you're saying, like getting to the conference final is an accomplishment, but like they haven't won a conference final game since the iPhone was invented. Like, that's fucking crazy. I look at it and I wonder how much this series changes your perspective on a number of different things, including like the Maple Leafs, including the Washington Capitals, the Metro Division as a whole. Like, do you retroactively change your grading or the way that you look at some of these other teams that have gone through the playoffs so far?
It's hard because every year we say the same things about the same teams, and they continue to not correct the thing that you think is the reason they're not getting there. And the Toronto Maple Leafs have gone with glitz and glamour and speed and high skill, and we go, okay, well, let's do it again, and we're going to do it again, and we're going to do it again. And every year we go, well, what about their goaltending? What about their ability to defend? What about their grit in the playoffs? Man, next year they're going to throw out the flash and dash again. I do think at some point you have to go and look for a team that really wants to be successful. You got to go back to the drawing board and go, okay, this is our identity and it's not working. Like this is who we are, but we got to blow this up and we got to try something different. Now, do you want a Matthews on your team? Yeah, you do. But you can't have a Nylander who doesn't turn a wheel defensively. You can't have a Marner who isn't gritty enough in the corners to help get you through the Florida Panthers and hope that it works next year, because it's not going to. And I think that that's what we're seeing in these playoffs. Everybody, if you want to win the Stanley Cup in the Eastern Conference, you have one goal: figure out a way to beat the Florida Panthers. That's it. Can our style of play match up against the Florida Panthers? And I was erroneously thinking that the Tampa Bay Lightning could do that this year, and we saw what became of the Tampa Bay Lightning. I thought they built the goaltending there. I thought they had the balanced scoring, and I thought they had a little bit of grit on their bottom six, but it wasn't close. So I think if you do want to hoist the Stanley Cup, you do have to right now take the top team in your conference and go, okay, that's what we have to beat, and that's what you're gonna have to beat next year. Like, you might lose a few pieces from the Florida Panthers, but their identity of who they are and how they play is going to be the same. So teams better stock up on how are we going to get past the Florida Panthers next season.
That's why I kind of look at the Capitals differently. And I know it's probably not fair. And to say that we all knew that the Capitals were kind of an overachiever this season,
Yeah.
but to hear Spencer Carberry say like, "Oh, we're like a mile away from the Carolina Hurricanes," and then to watch the Carolina Hurricanes get to the Eastern Conference Final and appear miles away from the Florida Panthers. How far away are the Capitals from being a team worth taking seriously? Or is it just kind of like, would they match up better maybe against Florida?
It's funny because this is a team that I hadn't being at the bottom of getting into the Eastern Conference of the playoffs this year, the Washington Capitals. They had a surprising year with Protas and McMichael and Pierre-Luc Dubois all played above expectations. I think the emergence back of the offensive Jacob Chikrin really helped propel this team offensively. And I do think the grade 8 chase really became a bonding point for this team. So they are all pulling the same rope. I think that was a driving force to what made this a special season for Washington. I still think they're missing pieces. And I think they're missing pieces for a playoff run. I think, again, games 1 through 82 are different from 83 on in the ability. You're seeing the physicality pick up in all of these games. The hits are almost double what they are during the regular season. The pace is just different. I think Washington answered some of that speed with the young speed that I think impressed me, where they took a step ahead of where Pittsburgh is, where they're just old and slow and going backwards. Washington is not a rebuild, it's a retool. I think Washington is getting in the right direction, but you're right. They're still pieces away from trying to compete with the Florida Panthers in a playoff series. But do they match up better than Carolina? I think they do. And I think they do because I think they defend in front of their net better. And I think that's the big problem that you're seeing with Carolina is, even though they're so aggressive in the defensive zone, they're leaving too many holes. And I think Washington would have been a better matchup. I still think they get beat, but I think they would have been a better matchup.
I mean, I hope at least somebody was a better matchup
I
than
know.
what we're seeing right now.
I
But we
know.
saw, again, like, second best team in the playoffs, Eastern Conference this year. I don't know how you could disagree with it, is the Maple Leafs. So, like, that just happened around earlier than maybe you want it to happen. And this could have been a fun Eastern Conference final, but it wasn't. Multi-parter on the Western Conference final. PD, I know that you went through this with a fine-tooth comb. I feel like the common refrain after game 1 was, damn, that was crazy, but Edmonton dominated and they should feel fine. How do you feel? Are you also one of these weird, like, Edmonton in 5 after that game people?
This is a hard one for me. And first, I want to preface this by, I know you guys are used to getting criticized online, and that's just because of the numbers of people that watch you. So people say things to you. People are all over me on my comments on this game. And I will say this. First, I don't live in Canada. I'm not from Canada. I'm not Canadian. So I'm not blowing smoke up the Edmonton Oilers. The Edmonton Oilers were the better team. The Edmonton Oilers in the second round This team is the first time I can say this Edmonton Oilers team defends, and they read the rush better than they have since I've been watching the Edmonton Oilers in the last several years. They are a more complete team than the Dallas Stars right now. That is not knocking the Dallas Stars. It's just a fact on how this team plays. And I think it showed in the first 40 minutes. And when the Edmonton Oilers get Draisaitl and McDavid going, and by the way, they weren't going in the second round. They had 3 goals combined. Perry had as many goals as those two combined. When they're going, and had 5 points through 2 periods. This team is nearly unstoppable. And when you look at the way the Dallas Stars defend man on man, they leave too many openings in the defensive zone. They did in the regular season, they did in the playoffs. And when you active against the Dallas Stars, you find openings. And that's what happened in the first 2 periods. Edmonton moved quicker, they moved the puck quicker, and they were better. But they couldn't sustain it. Why? The penalties made a difference. I'm sorry. That's where this game shifted. And Corey Perry is going to be Corey Perry, just like Jamie Benn's going to be Jamie Benn. Could Jamie Benn do something stupid tonight and be out for 10 minutes? Absolutely. You're not going to change the DNA of Corey Perry and Jamie Benn. Edmonton was better. If they stay out of the penalty box and continue to move their feet, they're the better team. Dallas, however, having said that, not just the power play and taking advantage of the power play situation and beating Skinner on shots he didn't have a chance on, they defended McDavid and Draisaitl so much better in the third period. They were closer to those 2 players. They didn't give them the open ice in front of them. They stayed above those 2 players better in the third period than they did in the first 2. If they don't do that again tonight, it's going to be more of the same. And expect Edmonton to come out of the gates flying again and creating offense with the 2 best players in the league right now.
You
Okay,
know how they defended Draisaitl and McDavid better is they scored on their power plays so that the Oilers couldn't load up after the successful penalty kill. That's a really great way to defend against McDavid and Draisaitl. You don't let them get that post-kill momentum.
Okay, so. Off of both of those, what is it about McDavid, especially against the Stars? Because I was looking it up, and he has 13 points in his last 7 playoff games against the Stars, which I thought in my dumb brain, okay, why is he so much better against the Stars than everybody else in the postseason? And then I looked at his numbers against everyone else in the postseason, and McDavid just always has crazy numbers. But to these eyes, it looks like McDavid has an easier time doing what he wants in the offensive zone against Dallas than against, say, even the Kings or the Golden Knights or other teams that they have played over the years. Is it just that Dallas likes to be as man-on-man in the defensive zone, or am I seeing something that's not there?
No, you're 100% correct, and that is it. And this is one of the things I have against, and I guess I'm a defensive zone purist. My dad was a goaltender. I played net, so I always think defending is first, and Dave Tippett was a defend first guy. I believe you need to defend. And when you play man-on-man against a team that is incredibly quick and incredibly fast, you watch the goals. McDavid and Draisaitl both pull up to the blue line in the offensive zone. They'll come low, and they'll go high in the zone. What does that do? That takes the man that's covering you with you. And oftentimes that's a defenseman. And you're pulling that defenseman all the way out to the blue line. Who's going to win a race from the blue line back to the front of the net? Bishel or McDavid? Well, McDavid is. So you pull him up high, and then you drive, and you use your speed to get back to the net. And Dallas doesn't have an answer for it. When you look at their matchup with Vegas, Vegas is a zone defense. They'll let him go. McDavid gets to the hash mark, the defenseman will let him go, and he'll just drift back to the front of the net. So that area from the top of the circle to the front of the net's not there. There's someone in the way. And you saw it with Draisaitl's first goal. They pull everybody up to the top of the zone. Look at one point. There's 4 Edmonton Oilers at the blue line. What does that do? There's 4 Dallas Stars at the blue line. And then it's just a matter of Draisaitl beating him back to the net, which he does clearly, easily, and get to the net. So, yeah, the defensive zone system, for me, the Dallas Stars need to make an adjustment. It's hard to change from man-on-man that you've played entire season and how many years under DeBoer to go, okay, all of a sudden we're going to play zone. It's nearly impossible. Because you've practiced it, you've done it on video. It's instinctual at this point that I'm just chasing them. I'm chasing them. And I think that's going to be a big problem. And until they can find a way to have someone fold underneath and help protect that area in front of the net, I think they're going to be in big trouble against the Edmonton Oilers 5-on-5.
Yeah, they just move. They move around so much in the offensive zone to the point where, like, they move around in the offensive zone like their power play does in the regular season. And I just assume that in the postseason that goes away. And maybe it's just for having watched the Vegas series, at some point you come to grips with whether it's the Vegas series last round or Vancouver in the second round last year, where at some point McDavid isn't going to be taken away, but he's going to be dulled. And perhaps my confidence in Edmonton against the Stars is just based in the fact that McDavid doesn't go away, or he is not taken away when they play the Stars. And maybe other elements will be, but I feel like it's kind of a freebie to still get your best player totally dominant in the Eastern Conference Final when everything should be about him.
Yeah, and it's going to be hard. And one thing the Dallas Stars need to do is they need to defend the other three lines. And the other three lines right now have been just as strong offensively for the Edmonton Oilers, but they didn't appear on the score sheet in this game because, again, we're talking about the speed and the quickness of those other lines for the Edmonton Oilers aren't the same as Draisaitl and McDavid. And I think the Dallas Stars were able to defend against those lines better. I do think you're going to see different matchups against McDavid. Heiskanen, and by the way, Dallas Stars fans that I say Heiskanen, it's Heiskanen. I'm sorry again, because I'm an idiot. But Heiskanen, I think you're going to see a lot of Heiskanen with McDavid at every opportunity they get, and try to keep the feet moving and try to get the speed with McDavid. But the Edmonton Oilers to win this series, and we said this before the series started, McDavid and Draisaitl need to be their best two players. And they were in game one. That they weren't in the series against Vegas. And they still were able to get through because of their depth. I don't think their depth can pull them through against Dallas, because I think Dallas has that depth. So I do think for Edmonton to win this series, and they still can, is they need to continue to have Draisaitl and McDavid be their best players continually 5-on-5.
Yeah, I also think they need to win the games that they should win. And
Yeah.
they did not do that in game one. And like part of me goes back to the Stanley Cup final last year, where it's like, you got goalied in game one. You're the much better team. But like that kind of game ends up being the difference in that series.
If they win game one, who knows? They win that series.
Right. And so like I agree with you both that Edmonton was dominant for most of game one. They lost. And I expect Dallas to be better.
Same.
I expect this series to look different. What do you carry from game one that you think is going to sustain for this series?
See, I think this is the hard part. And people, I've heard people that play the game, there is no, Eichel said it, there's no such thing as momentum bull. Like, come on. You don't think this is eating away the Edmonton Oilers over the last 48 hours? I guarantee it's all they thought about in the hotel. God, we had them. We had them. And it slipped away. It is hard to get over that hurdle when the puck drops a game at 20 minutes on the clock in the first period of game two, and go and put that all out of your mind. You can say it. You can try to say it. Hey, we're putting that one away. We're throwing it away. But it's hard. So I think for the Edmonton Oilers, the most important thing off this drop of this puck is you see their feet moving again. It's getting pucks in the offensive zone, and that same active play that we've seen for the Dallas Stars. They go, guys, we got to play better. Like that was a horrific start against a team that we knew was going to bring their speed game, and they were prepared for it. We watched video on it. We still didn't defend against it. I think the Dallas Stars are going to be better. I really do. I think the Stars will be better off of the drop of the puck. For Dallas, to me, it's going to be I say this all the time, and it gets repetitive. The first 10 minutes for me, Dallas needs to get away even. If it's 0-0 after the first 10 minutes, a win for Dallas, because I expect Edmonton to come out with an upset McDavid, with a McDavid on a mission. And if you can keep him off the score sheet for the first 10 minutes, Dallas could win this one without having to come back. And I think this is going to be, can Dallas see, okay, we can't start on our heels. We have to start keeping the puck in front of us. We have to stay in front of McDavid through the neutral zone. Those little corrections, can they be enough? Because they can't rely on the power play. I mean, they can't rely on sitting in the power play time after time after time. So I do think Dallas is going to be better. But that first 10 minutes, McDavid can ramp it up and be pushing back on him again. And then the doubt creeps into Dallas. My God, we just can't keep up with these guys. What are we going to do? Otter's going to have to save us again. And again, it's all about those mind games and how you see the shift. Dallas was out of it. Buddy, they were out. It's 3-1. They were done. When they got that first power play goal to make it 3-2, they go, oh my gosh, we're getting our ass kicked. And we're only a goal behind. And that's where the momentum shifted. If they kill off that penalty, 3-1, kill the penalty off, I think Edmonton goes on to win this game.
Okay, Steve Peters, you are the best. We say it all the time. You can find him S Peters Hockey on Twitter and the various socials, but really subscribe to his YouTube channel. It's Inside the Coach's Room. He is the Rick Beato of hockey, and I am not kidding. He's as handsome, he's as fun, he's as creative, and he's as knowledgeable.
Let's go. Thanks, Dave. Yeah, and I appreciate it, guys. And again, stop yelling at me on the internet. If you disagree, just say a nice comment. I disagree. God, what, do guys yell at you like that?
Someone
Hurts my
don't
feelings.
get me started. Yeah, we get creative ones.
Twitter's been broken and my notifications haven't refreshed for like 36 hours, and it's been the most beautiful and peaceful
Glorious.
36 hours of my life.
Thanks for having me on, guys. I really appreciate it, and I'm excited to see how this series continues as it goes on.
We all silly like the mayor.